Lo, by Charles Hoyfort, Part 1, Chapter 40. But presumably in the winter time, in England, members of the Proconia family are not busy and available for explanations. In the Curly Lancashire Standard, February 15, 1873, is a story of excitement in the town of Eccleston. At Bank House, occupied by two elderly women and their niece, streams of water started falling about the 1st of February, seemingly from ceilings. Furniture was soaked, and the occupants of the house were alarmed. The falls seemed to come from the ceiling, but probably the most singular feature of the affair is that ceilings were apparently quite dry. See back to Mr. Grothendieck's story of objects that were appearing near a ceiling, or roof, with no signs of penetrating the material. Workmen had been called to the house, and had investigated, but were unable to explain. Openness again. House packed with neighbors, watching the shores. These data would make trouble for spiritualistic mediums and their requirements for special, or closed, conditions, and at least semi-darkness, if mediums were bothered by more than unquestioning or, occasionally politely questioning, faith. If some of them have been knocked about a bit, they were relatively few. Nobody in this house sat in a cabinet. Nobody was a logician. Nobody reasonably argued that chemists, for instance, must have special conditions, or their reactions will not work out. For instance, said nobody, how could you develop a photograph except in the special conditions of darkness, or semi-darkness? The look to me is that, throughout what is loosely called nature, teleportation exists, as a means of distribution of things and materials, and that sometimes human beings have command, mostly unconsciously, though perhaps sometimes as a development from research and experiment, of this force. It is said that in savage tribes there are rainmakers, and it may be that among savages there are teleportationists. Some years ago, I'd have looked superior if anybody had said this to me, but a good many of us are not so given to the tut-tut as we used to be. It may be that in civilized communities, because of their storages, a power to attract flows of water, being no longer needed, has virtually died out, still appearing occasionally, however. It could be that, in reading what most persons think are foolish little yarns of falling stones, we are, visionarily, in the presence of cosmic constructiveness, or that once upon a time this whole earth was built up by streams of rocks, teleported from other parts of an existence. The crash of falling islands, the humps of piling continents, and then the cosmic humor of it all, or utmost spectacularity functioning, then declining, and surviving only as a vestige, or that the force that once heaped the peaks of the Rocky Mountains now slings pebbles at a couple of farmers, near Trenton, New Jersey. So I'd conceive of the existence of a force, and the use of it, unconsciously mostly, by human beings. It may be that, if somebody, gifted with what we think we mean by agency, fiercely hates somebody else, he can, out of intense visualizations, direct, by teleportation, bombardments of stones upon his enemy.